Hello and welcome to another F1 2021 reaction, review and rundown, I'm going to say, of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix at Imola this time. And yeah, F1 was back this week, today actually. The race has literally just finished, so hopefully all these results are in the right order, because I do know one or two of the drivers are being investigated for a few little breaches of the rules. So yeah, hopefully it's all as it should be. And yeah, if you haven't joined me for this series yet, this is the second episode, so maybe go check out the last one at Bahrain. But if you don't know, basically we're starting from the bottom, we're working ourselves to the top, and yeah, let's get into it. But before we do, if you are new and you do like this sort of stuff and you don't want to miss out on when the next Grand Prix comes out, that video comes out, then maybe do consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. And at the end of this video, if you did like it, maybe do consider leaving a like. It will greatly help me out, and if you don't, leave a dislike. But yeah, let's get into it. So in 20th position we had Nicholas Latifi. This is due to a DNF, and yeah, kind of a shame for him. He did obviously qualify in his career best in 14th, I believe it was, and yeah, he lost it basically. He lost it and spun out, basically wrecking the car. Yeah, not much you can say on that. It was. I'm sure Mazepin's going to get the blame for it a lot, but I kind of feel like it was his fault, because he was rejoining the track, and yeah, just didn't really see Mazepin in his mirror. So obviously a little bit of contact, not Mazepin's fault on this occasion, and yeah, just sent him into the wall. So unlucky for him. But moving on to 19th and 18th, I'm going to include it. We had Valtteri Bottas and George Russell. And yeah, George Russell getting a little bit spicy walking over to Bottas, and yeah, just giving him a little knock on the head after Bottas letting him know what he thought of the incident. But that must have been quite terrifying for Bottas, just basically hitting two walls at, you know, basically full on throttle, just full speed. And yeah, I'm gonna say that was probably George Russell's fault in the end. He did get a little bit spooked. I think like Bottas moved like ever so slightly to the right, and yeah, that just made George Russell get a little bit of his wheel onto the grass, and yeah, that just went though, didn't it? It just went. That car, as soon as that wheel hit the grass, it was just like, nope, not staying on this track, and it was just, yeah, into the side of Valtteri Bottas, which yeah, a shame for Bottas again. Like last season, seems like he's continuing his luck really. And again, George Russell at Imola doesn't finish the race, was in the points as well at that point, and yeah, had a chance to pick a point or maybe two up. So I'm sure he is absolutely gutted, and that's probably part of the reason why he reacted the way he did towards Bottas. But moving on, we have Sebastian Vettel, where he should be in this position now, in 17th. Basically, yeah, it's he just can't catch a break. Vettel just can't catch a break at the moment. He actually did okay. He did okay on Saturday, managed to get 13th, which isn't fantastic, but you know, you could still score some decent points from there. And then Lance Stroll as well, and Sebastian Vettel on the outlap, on the formation lap. They just seem to be, yeah, they just had their brakes on fire pretty much, and they somehow managed to sort Stroll out, which he had. I'd say his were much more damaged than Vettel's were. I don't think we actually got to see Vettel's, but judging by what they were saying, Stroll's were worse, and I can maybe see them giving priority to Stroll just because he was higher up the grid for the start of the race, so maybe they worked a bit faster on his. But Vettel being relegated to starting in the pit lane again, so he hasn't even started a race this season. Yeah, from the actual pit wall, pretty much. He just hasn't started from the start line. just the pit exit. So yeah, and again, an okay race for him. He was actually setting fastest laps at some point, and then he went out to be the guinea pig to who should be on the dry tyres, and yeah, he just last lap. It was basically the last lap they retired him because something wrong with the brakes again, I think it was, or actually possibly it was the gearbox. Maybe they could have let him finish, but of course they want to reduce her damage on the car so they have less to fix and less problems, and obviously try to avoid penalties if they can, and he wasn't getting points anyway, so yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully the next race Sebastian Vettel will get some sort of justice, maybe just pick up a point please, and yeah, hopefully Aston Martin's woes will be a little bit further behind him. But moving on, we have Nikita Mazepin, I think in 16th place he should be. Obviously this isn't completely updated yet, it still says that they're running even though the race was over. But yeah, it should be Nikita Mazepin, and yeah, okay-ish. You know, probably the highest he might finish for the entire season is 16th. Did have a spin at the end, so you're still Mazepin, and he gave us what we were expecting, so he didn't let us down. He did not let us down. He just didn't end his own race. But yeah, good for him to finish the race, I think. Give him some sort of confidence, even though, yeah, not much you can really say about him, is there? But just ahead of him, his teammate in 15th place, Michael Schumacher? That was rolling back the years a little bit. Mick Schumacher, I should say. Yeah, Mick Schumacher in 15th place. Again, I said 16th last race was probably his highest, but 15th for him here, really good. Probably again going to be his highest, and yeah, I think he was pulling ahead on Mazepin quite a lot during the race, even when he had the front wing come off. Oh, yeah, he did go for a spin as well himself, didn't he? So yeah, trying to warm up the tyres, went for a spin himself, and yeah, did two laps under the safety car without a front wing because the pit lane was closed. So yeah, and still beat his teammate by quite a bit of a margin, I think. So yeah, shows that Nikita's not exactly got the pace, even though Gunther Steiner was saying that he did. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But moving on, we have Antonio Giovinazzi, and I don't know, I can't really remember what happened to Giovinazzi. I think, he had to come in for an extra pit stop, I think, because there was something on his brakes that, yeah, his mechanics just kind of quickly moved. But otherwise, he was set to maybe get 11th, 12th, possibly even 10th. So a little bit disappointing for him. And yeah, the Alfa Romeo has actually been looking all right this season. So yeah, let's move on to Yuki Sonoda. He's really disappointing for little old Yuki. Starting last, or not last anymore, he didn't start because Vettel had to start for the pit lane. So basically he started 19th, worked his way up all the way to 8th, I think, and then actually even overtook Hamilton. And yeah, pretty much as he overtook Hamilton, he just overcooked it and went for a slow spin off the circuits. And that pretty much undid all his progression and all his hard work throughout the race. So it was a real shame for him, that. Because yeah, he was doing so well. He'd made up 11 positions and possibly could have made up even more. So it would have been basically a Sergio Perez from the last race. So yeah, obviously I think everybody, all of us, really likes Yuki, and we think he's going to get quite far. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next race and see what he can do. Moving on, we had Sergio Perez in 12th place. Sergio, come on, you did so well last week, and then, not last week, the last race, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, he did scuff it today a little bit. Obviously, yesterday, Saturday qualifying, amazing job, 2nd place, possibly could have got pole without a slight little mistake in his lap. And then, yeah, he basically had 2 chances this race, because he did get that 10 seconds stop penalty in the pit lane, basically because he went off the track during one of the safety cars and then just decided to overtake, I think at the time it was Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc maybe. Yeah, just decided to re-overtake them for some reason. I don't know why Red Bull didn't tell him not to, because obviously you can't overtake under safety car. So yeah, that was an interesting one really. So obviously he had to serve that penalty. You think, great, his race is completely over. But then he goes and serves it. okay, fine, comes back out, and then a red flag for the race. So that pretty much reset everything, and he had another great chance. He'd made his way back up to 5th, I think it was, and was chasing down Carlos Sainz, and then, went off circuit, went back down to 14th, 15th, and could only finish 12th. So I'm sure that's quite disappointing for him. He's going to be, just not happy, and hopefully Christian Horner's not too upset with him, and he will do better in the next race. But moving on to Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon, so for 10th and 11th. Yeah, quite interesting. Esteban Ocon beating Fernando Alonso, not just in the race, but also on Saturday in qualifying. So yeah, that prediction I made from the last video saying that Fernando Alonso was just going to absolutely destroy another teammate, not happened already. Second race, so go Esteban, take it to Alonso. Even though I was quite surprised, Alonso had a quite poor qualifying, I think, and not great race either. But yeah, props to Esteban for getting in the top 10, getting the points, and beating a 2-time world champion. So moving on, again we had Kimi Raikkonen in 9th place. Yeah, really good, solid performance from him. Had Antonio Giovinazzi's teammate behind him for most of the race, but then obviously Giovinazzi had to go in for a pit stop. And yeah, the Finn, again, showing the experience, obviously just there as a hobby, and sticking it in 9th place. But yeah, like I said, Alfa Romeo is actually looking quite good. Obviously they would have got a little bit of an upgrade from the Works Ferrari team, and obviously shows that Ferrari did make a little bit of an improvement. So moving on to P8, we had Pierre Gasly, and I don't know, Gasly's race was a little bit all over the place. At first he started on the wet tyres, and just started to crawl down the order as basically it wasn't raining enough, so that gamble didn't pay off. And then, he kind of made his way back up under safety cars from the red flag, and then started to come back down again, and then I think he went back up again. A little bit mixed results for AlphaTauri and Pierre Gasly. They I don't know, they have the cars there. I think the car is genuinely, really, really good. It showed in practice, it showed in qualifying, it showed in pre-season. Yeah, it's good. It's just they've had really bad luck in the last 2 races. So hopefully both Pierre and Yuki can show the true potential in the next race. So yeah, moving on to P7, Lance Stroll. Yeah, pretty good performance. The doubts of both Aston Martin starting the race and potentially finishing the race just because, brakes on fire, no good. But Lance Stroll managed to finish in 7th, his 2nd points finish in a row. So yeah, he's maxing a couple little points. That's good for Aston Martin, at least somebody is. But hopefully Vettel can join him with that mission as the season progresses. In 6th place we had Daniel Ricciardo, another pretty solid race for the Honey Badger. Still getting used to the car. I think it was a really good decision by McLaren to just tell him to let Lando Norris through, because Lando Norris was really on one today and throughout the entire weekend really. But yeah, good on Daniel for letting him through, because when they mentioned it I was a bit like, is he gonna let him through? I wasn't too sure he was actually gonna let him through, but he did let him through. So good on Daniel for that. Not a heated rivalry yet, I'm gonna say, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna be all fun and games like we think it's gonna be with Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris. So we'll monitor that as it progresses. But let's move on into, let's say, 5th place and 4th place. We had Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. So yeah, 2 Ferraris, 4th and 5th. That's pretty good. That is pretty good, especially comparing to last year where they were just nowhere. Leclerc at one point being in a podium position in 3rd was doing, obviously Leclerc just does bits in that Ferrari. He really just drag it up. But at the same time, probably not as much as we think. I mean, he's probably dragging it up a little bit, or Carlos Sainz is dragging it up as well, because Sainz is he's been doing really well. He did really good this race actually. I think he started in P11 or P12 and made it up all the way to 5th. So good on Carlos Sainz for that. Moving on to the podium positions, we had Lando Norris in third, and yeah, driver of the day as well, and thoroughly deserved. Obviously, from qualifying, had his third place equivalent time deleted for exceeding track limits, and so he ended up starting behind Daniel Ricciardo in 7th, I think it was, and yeah, just made his way up through the field, was holding Hamilton off quite nicely during the latter stages of the race, and unfortunately just couldn't do it for the last like 4 laps, I think it was. But yeah, he sounded quite happy with that third place regardless, and is actually third in the championship now, which yeah, that's a nice surprise as well, having Lando Norris third in the championship. He does deserve it. Obviously, 3rd year at McLaren as well, so a triple free today. 3rd year at McLaren, 3rd position, and then 3rd in the championship. But yeah, Lando Norris, hopefully, would be really nice to see him challenge Hamilton and Verstappen at the top this season. I think he's going to be maybe just off, but yeah, that would also be a great little duel there, that to have 3 people contending for the title, not just Hamilton and Verstappen. But moving on to the 7th-time world champion Hamilton, a rare mistake from him that, to be honest, it just seemed like he was sat in that gravel next to the pit, not next to the pit wall, next to the wall for just forever really, but it's just so far ahead of the rest of the pack that he just came back on, then came back in 9th place and just started cutting his way through the field after the race had restarted from the red flag. Yeah, and just managed to knock it back in 2nd place and really limited the damage that Red Bull and Max Verstappen could have done to yeah, take the lead of the championship. And yeah, as it so happens, Hamilton also got the fastest lap of the race, and yeah, keeps his lead in the championship, 1 point ahead of Max Verstappen. But yeah, moving on to Max Verstappen in the 1st place, just absolutely controlled the race, was just absolutely pulled away from Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc when the race restarted after the red flag. It did have a little bit of a scare, just a little bit of a scare when he almost lost the back end of the car at the restart. But hopefully, yeah, but obviously, luckily managed to keep it there, basically, and survive and win the race. So yeah, it's good for the rivalry between Hamilton and Verstappen, and keeping Red Bull close to Mercedes, and obviously keeping the championship tight, because the last thing we want is Mercedes to run away with it, or even we don't really want Red Bull to run away with it either. We just want it close towards the end of the season, and yeah, just make it a great season. But to finish this video off, because it is getting quite long at the moment, I think, what a race this was. Yeah, just crazy race actually, just chaos at Imola. It was just, I think, 2 safety cars and then the red flag. I always do love it when there's a red flag, and I was kind of a little bit disappointed that it wasn't a standing start like it has been for the rest of the races that had a red flag, basically. I don't know why they had to do it under the safety car. Yeah, I think it would have been more entertaining to have another standing start, because that just feels like you're getting 2 races then. Obviously, when you do get a red flag and there's a standing start, it just feels like obviously the race is restarting, and you get that drama into turn 1 all over again. So yeah, it just feels like another race, I think. So I'd say, compared to Bahrain, I think, I don't know, I'd maybe say this is probably a better race, I think. Obviously, we didn't have Hamilton and Verstappen within a second of each other, but I think everything else that was going on, I think I enjoyed it more. Plus the safety cars and the red flag. Yeah, I think this maybe just slightly edges out Bahrain, and I think that's a good thing, because obviously keeps this season getting more and more entertaining. It'd be great to see just every race just getting better and better and better. But yeah, I think that's going to be all for me for this one. Do let me know what you thought of the race, and well, let me know what your predictions are for the rest of the season and what you think is going to happen at the next race. But I think that's going to be all from me, so goodbye and ciao ciao.